have not thought about it. We've had some good conversations on Russia and Ukraine over the weekend, over the last few days actually, but we've had some very good conversations on Russia and Ukraine. There's a lot of hatred there, I will tell you, between the two parties and between even the generals. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of hatred, but we've had some very good discussions over the last few days.
The Australian election.
Key Senate Democrats have withdrawn support for crypto bills, in part because they say that you and your family should not be involved in crypto companies while in office, and now the bills may not pass and have the support. What would you say to them about
that? Well, I haven't heard that, but I'm a big fan of crypto because I want to keep it away from China. Crypto is a whole new thing that started, not so long ago, but I'm very much in favor of crypto, Bitcoin, all of the different things, because otherwise China's going to take it over. And just like AI, just like so many other industries or whatever you want to call them, crypto is very important, I think, for our country.
The Australian election, Mr. President. The Australian election, Conservatives did very badly, just like in Canada. They're saying it's the Trumpers Act again. Conservatives doing it. In Australia, there was an election this weekend.
Well, I don't know. Albanese, I'm very friendly with. I don't know anything about the election other than
he just won again. He was re-elected.
The man that won he's very good. He's a friend of mine.
Your tariffs were not the act of a friend. Will you be speaking to him now, congratulating him on his win?
Well, I can only say that he's been very, very nice to me, very respectful to me. I have no idea who the other person is that ran against him. And, we've had a very good relationship.
There's been cuts to the World Trade Center health program and questions about the restoration of the director. Are you aware of the World Trade Center health program that helps 9/11 first responders? 16 staffers were laid off on Friday, and activists in New York
I was the one in my first term that helped them get money and helped them really live a much better life. That was a very important thing I did in my first term, but I'm not aware of anything that may have been brought up recently. Thank you. Thank you very much.
General Flynn?
I like General Flynn.
You might as well be NSA director.
Today, a conversation between Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Milken Institute Chair Michael Milken about the state of the global economy. You can watch that discussion live at 11 a.m. Eastern on C-SPAN. C-SPAN Now, our free mobile app, or online at cspan.org.
Up next, Oklahoma Senator James Lankford and former Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema discuss the need for bipartisanship on a variety of current issues facing the country. They also talk about the late Senator John McCain and his views on how Republicans and Democrats should approach governing.
Well, hello, everyone. It is great to be back at the Sedona Forum. I am so excited to be here today with my good friend, James Lankford, who's traveled from Oklahoma to be here with us today. And actually, it was pretty easy. I think I just texted you and said, do you want to come to Sedona? And he said, duh.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we're going to do the McCain Forum. And he immediately said yes.
Yes.
So I thought we'd kick off with a John McCain story.
Oh, I'd love to.
Here we go.
I'd love to. So I count, by the way, good to see everybody. I count the Senate now at this point of kind of like we as a country and a world count like pre-COVID and post-COVID on memories. We're pre-McCain and post-McCain because the new members that have come in the last couple of cycles will be in the conversation with a John McCain story, and they just stare at us like I have no point of reference for that.
So sad for them.
It's been very interesting just to be in several of those conversations. Everybody has John McCain story, and everyone who served with him had a million on it. My favorite of it was a moment where it was John Thune, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, and myself. We're all standing on the Senate floor in a vote series, and we're all chit-chatting there just as the vote is going on. And John looks at Lindsey and says, if I had Lankford's voice and Thune's looks, I would be president right now. Without a hesitation, like zero hesitation, Lindsey responds back, and your wife would be much happier. True story, Cindy. True story. Everyone wonders when they're watching C-SPAN what the conversations are on the floor. That's an example of one of the conversations on the floor.
So right before we came on the stage, when James said, I think I'm going to tell a McCain story, I had like a moment of panic because when you've got a Don story, it probably involves profanity. But then I remembered that James was telling it, so it's going to be totally fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
That's right.
It's going to be fine.
Okay, so our panel today is to have a discussion about American power at home and abroad.
Yeah.
And when I reached out to you and asked if you'd be willing to come and be with us this weekend, we spent a little bit of time in that first conversation talking about your book, which was about to be published. And
right.
I think everyone has a copy of the book. Yes. So if you haven't had a chance to read it, I strongly encourage you to do so. I spent some time reading the book, and what I was struck by was how you approach the idea of power and the responsibility that comes with that power. It won't surprise you when I tell you that I was obviously enamored with your concept of how to think about power and responsibility, because I feel that it is sorely needed in today's country. And I hope that it goes along with that, the way I tried to serve as well.
Yeah.
So what I'd love to do is start by having you talk a little about kind of your philosophy, the way you think that we should display American power at home.
Well, there's a couple things I think that we as Americans forget. And number one, we forget that we are Americans at times. And I don't say that flippantly. The world is still watching us all the time. And we lose track of that. How we argue, how we fight, how we resolve, how we spend money, what our priorities are. The entire world watches. I make a reference.
If he hadn't, right, the whole January 6th thing, that was his show. Courts have found that he engaged in insurrection, and even when it went to the Supreme Court wouldn't even say he didn't. They just said that states aren't allowed to decide if he's not allowed under the 14th Amendment. And the pardons, absolutely. I mean, he's saying that, you know, whenever I need you, just come on out and fight for me. You won't face any legal repercussions. In fact, we'll pay you if his compensation fund goes through. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how you would argue that he's not encouraging political violence. Has he inflamed racism, anti-Semitism? Yeah. Dog whistles so loud people can hear him. I don't have any, quotes in front of me, but it's just everything about him is incredibly against anything that's not like him superficially.
Thank you, Senator Booker. Senator Cortez Masto, former Attorney General of Nevada.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing as well. Most importantly, I just have to thank all of you for your courage to be here and continue to, and if you spent any time in Judiciary Square, which I have as an AUSA walking past that National Memorial, you recognize that peace officers come from all over to honor those who've made the ultimate sacrifice. But if you walk over there, you also know that there's a quality, not only is a career prosecutor, but married to a law enforcement officer. I thank you so much. At the end of the day, what you are doing is so courageous. Let me ask you this, two questions I have though. We talked about the effect of these pardons, but talk to me about trust, right? Because as a prosecutor, as a law enforcement officer, part of really the role that you have is to build the trust with the community. And that is, to me, one of the most important things. And do you feel that what is happening now because of these pardons and because of the ignorance and the willing to ignore the rule of law, that we are also now really jeopardizing that public trust with law enforcement and prosecutors? I'm curious how you feel about that. Officer Daniel, we'll talk with you first. Hodges.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust is fundamental to a functioning society, and I don't see how anyone could not have had their trust damaged in the federal government, at least by this administration. These horrific, as far as I can tell, illegal human trafficking of individuals to prisons in El Salvador by federal agents and I somehow have to still defend myself as a police officer and the work I do because of that. That even though there's no connection there between me and them, it absolutely hurts trust in local law enforcement. So all these things make it more difficult to do my job. And because we need the trust of the community to do our jobs.
Thank you.
As a prosecutor, I'm sure you know, part of what we do is we have to have the trust of the victims that we are prosecuting cases for, because their testimony is important to be able to bring those cases forward. Having things like this happen where a case is wiped away, where there are victims involved, makes it that victims are less likely to trust prosecutors to do the thing that they're supposed to do. And having someone like Ed Martin in control in Washington, D.C. makes it that the city of Washington, D.C. is less safe, and the people are less likely to trust the people that are supposed to be prosecuting the cases that are to protect them.
I think Ms. Levine took the words right out of my mouth, so I'll come at this from a different angle. One of the other ways that it is important for us to have trust is to have the trust of the judiciary. Appearing in court on behalf of the United States, I always felt that we were held to tremendously high standards, and so judges took our word seriously. If we made a representation to a judge, if we assured them that certain facts were true, if we made an argument, they took it more seriously because of the weight of the authority of the United States behind us. When we have prosecutors or representatives of the Justice Department refusing to answer the judge's questions, failing at their basic duties of candor to the court, telling the judge false information, that absolutely undermines the ability of any prosecutor anywhere in the United States to do their job effectively.
Senator, thank you. I don't think we have to worry about the trust being shattered. I mean, it already is. Any prosecution against any person of any political party is already looked at as weaponized. I mean, I've heard that word more than I've cared to weaponize. Everything is weaponized against this person, that person. So that's when you get down to the facts. I mean, let's be very factual about the things that are happening. I had the opportunity of being in Reno a couple of weeks ago, presenting a resolution in front of the legislature out there, condemning what happened on January 6th. It was very matter of fact. It wasn't my opinion. On January 6th, people attacked police officers, and that's not okay. Donald Trump pardoned people who attacked police officers. That's not okay. And almost every Republican out there voted against the resolution. And I mean, how can you have trust when you can't even acknowledge just the facts of something? So I think the trust is already fractured. I don't know if it's beyond repair, but I think, you know, individuals that are sitting before you now are committed to doing whatever we can do to keep and help restore the public trust.
Thank you. And then just one quick question, because I think I get asked this question as well as an attorney. So for Sarah and Mike, let me just ask you this. Attorneys they violate the law, they can be held accountable. Rules of professional conduct, prosecutors' conduct. Literally, if you go too far as an attorney, whether you're the U.S. attorney, or AUSA, or prosecuting or anywhere, your bar license can be taken away if you violate those professional rules of conduct. Isn't that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, and because of that, is that part of the reason why you left? Because you didn't want to violate those ethical rules? And should that be an area, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but it is an area that I believe as attorneys we should be held accountable to, and every attorney across this country should know that if they do violate those rules, there is accountability. It's not often used, but it is something that is a tool to be out there for many to recognize is available.
So I was fired, so I didn't have the opportunity to resign. I think if I had stayed at the Justice Department, there would certainly be ethical concerns that would have been brought forward that I would have felt that I would have been obligated to resign at some point because of that. Having those ethical responsibilities are so important. It's what makes us able to do the things that we do, and especially for prosecutors, because we can take away someone's liberty, it's extra important. So it's something that absolutely is something, I think that's probably one of the considerations that some people have had when they have left the Justice Department, is they've resigned to protect that integrity and to protect their ethics.
I think that was the case, in fact, for some of the people whose names have come up earlier in this hearing. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Welch.
Well, I came because I wanted to say thank you. It's incredibly frustrating. This should be a full hearing with the full committee where all of us are expressing our gratitude to folks who did their jobs, and all of us are expressing outrage at the erosion of the rule of law. So one of the things that you all committed to was, and showed respect for, was trust that the Attorney General here is talking about. So I don't have so many questions as much as I do have an expression of gratitude. And the thing that's so difficult is that the world is upside down right now. I mean, you were talking about how seriously judges would take representatives of the U.S. government, and we're seeing now in a particular case that U.S. attorneys who are appearing won't answer a question asked by the judge about what is the position of the government or what is the efforts that they have been making in order to comply with the judicial order. It's an astonishing thing. I was a public defender and in court all of the time. I just can imagine how painful that is. And law enforcement, it's unbelievable for us. We walk around all the time. We've got this man out here. Who trained him? It was one of you guys, right? This wonderful man here? That was you. Well, you did a good job. You did a good job. But it's a tradition and a culture that you're passing down to the young attorneys in your office or the new officers who are coming in. And it's so cool. We walk around here and we just totally take our safety for granted, right? And we did that before, and we still do it after January 6th. But every one of the folks that was working with you on January 6th, I mean, God knows what they went through. And, you know, normally there'd just be such gratitude as there is, I think, from the members for what you did. And you're looking at a world where the bad guys won. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And that's hard to live with. And I guess the one observation I'll make, and then a question for you to comment on, it's really tough for people in this country right now. I mean, you were at a special moment in our history where you were required to do special things, and you stood up and did them. So no matter how upside down it is, each of you has the satisfaction that your kids and grandkids are going to be so proud that they're connected to you. That's going to be real in your legacy. But the thing is, right now, where the outcome of our democracy is a jump ball, the question is, how do we all carry on? So given that you had a front row seat, how do you guys carry on? Thank you for doing it.
Thank you, Senator. The hardest thing, I guess, it would have been harder for me to not say anything and speak up and attend these hearings and continue to speak out. Listen, a lot of time, it's been over 4 years talking about January 6th. And even to this point now, a lot of times we're not out there bringing it up. We're responding to people trying to diminish and whitewash it. And I think that's what shows the courage, the braveness of the individuals that are sitting here. They're standing up and pushing back. Yes, we all know that we hated it and it was wrong, but the fact that individuals are still trying to minimize and whitewash, and our job, we say our responsibility, the requirement to do what's right, is to push back against that. And I think that's what's important. That's what keeps me going, because that's what keeps me going.
You look great.
Thank you. You do too.
Senator, when I think back to January 6th, the reason that I spoke up, the reason that I asked about what we were doing was because the thought of the department doing nothing seemed like such a failure to me. I was very afraid that people would leave Washington, D.C. and face no consequences, and that was what motivated me to call my colleagues and ask, is there any response to this? What are people doing about it? And I think the same thing is motivating me to be here today, that I realize no longer working for the Justice Department, in some ways I have a privilege to be able to speak that people who are still there can't for fear of being fired, given the way that the Attorney General and many people beneath her have signaled that dissent is not to be tolerated. And so I think the thing for people to do, people who have the capacity, people who have the ability, is to continue to speak. That's all we have.
So after I was fired, I was immediately hired by a prosecutor's office in Virginia. So I continue to prosecute cases and try to work for the rule of law in every way that I can. And when I have the opportunity to speak out, I continue to speak out, because the only way that we fix the problems is that we continue to talk about them.
Something that I'm proud about from my work on January 6th is the fact that it never even crossed my mind to give up, to run away.
Wow.
It never even within me to do that. The question was, how do you carry on? I carry on because the alternative is untenable. Because just giving up and ceding this country to these terrible people, it's not, even if it's a losing fight, I'll still fight the fight. You don't fight because of the odds of winning. You fight because it's the right thing to do, and therein lies valor.
Right.
So I carry on because I can't not.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for coming. You are not just witnesses to history, you are history. You lived it. You lived the aftermath of it as well. I can't think of another event in my lifetime that has been subject to such historic revisionism, where new people to this administration are trying to rewrite what happened on January 6th. They've got a problem. We've got videotape and we have memories. And those of us who were in the building know what we saw and know what we lived through. And now to characterize this as some Mardi Gras event or some love and happiness event doesn't reflect the reality. I thought they were going to kill you, Officer Hodges, honest to God. I look at those films now, those videos now, and...
I had the lay in the state, and I saluted lay in the state, and I saluted his remains and thought to myself, there but for the grace of God go I.
Right.
You're exactly right. And because the event was of such gravity and such historic importance, we cannot let the truth die. We have to come together regularly and tell the truth to the American people. Let them hear the history, let them see the history of that moment. I think that's the only way a democracy can survive, with the truth, the history of our country. And there's a feeling of justice that requires that as well. Shame, we just shut up and tell the story. I'm reporting, first life decision for us. I don't take that for granted. I have my kids and grandkids, everything, I'm sure that's what told. And I got to do remember. Situation, Mr. Levine, Mr. Ronald, continues in this committee. The man who came to the office of President of the District of Columbia, Institute for Young a higher office in our government. And before he would achieve that, I want the truth to be told as to what he said and what he done. I believe this was. We were used in 1,700 events. We asked him 1,900. He felt there were in 400 cases. No response. 400. We look at all the questionnaires for U.S. attorneys in the past. We found one with 8 or 10 similar situations. 4 things been exposed. Well, we're urging the district to have a full hearing with Mr. Monroe. And we do. We ask questions, have a question. Trust me, your experience and what you told us today will be part of that questioning. It is a critical element in history and that's promoted as a position. So this is not just a joking. This is the real thing as far as I'm concerned. Because you are the real thing. You are history. I think you're there. I ask now that we stand there and thanks